Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back with another episode of Kerbal Space Center. So, now that we've unlocked some more ship parts, we can now take what were barely even designs of anything viable as a spaceship and try and improve it. We have this ship. Now we can start really thinking about what can we do different. Let's get rid of this part for the moment and look at what we have for fuel tanks. We have some fuel tanks now. We put one of these in, and you have two things. We have reliant and swivel helps us control our ship a little bit better, our spaceship. So we're gonna need a lot of fuel. So let's do something silly. There's 3 fuels, and then what we'd like to do is use the thumper rockets instead of the little fleas. We have the flea, we have the hammer, and we have the thumper. Each one is bigger, burns for longer, and makes for a stronger flight. A longer, higher flight. Now, we don't really have any way of attaching this properly. So we do have the girder segment, which is going to let us do this. And we can click this button to see the center of our gravity. And put that there. And then attach that here. Notice that it often wants us to go the wrong direction on that. And so you want to hover on this dot. But this is not the right way. Let's see if we can offset this piece all the way that way. Alright, well that looks like it's attached. We've got 4 of these guys. We've got this guy in the middle with a lot of fuel. That seems like a somewhat competently built ship. Something that might have the chance of getting us to the atmosphere. These rockets are going to come with us, so it's going to be kind of heavy. One thing you're supposed to do is rename your ship every time. So version 2. And the reason why you need to rename it every time is so then when you click the save button and then you click the load button, you have version 2 saved here and not auto save ship or untitled ship. Because if you make everything and call everything untitled, as soon as you hit the save button, it's going to overwrite everything. Still don't have Jebediah back, so it seems like Valentina is going to be the right one to go. We need a pilot. Let's see if this works. I didn't check the stages. Often I make the mistake of not checking the stages. But that's not a problem as long as you recognize it right before you start. I'm going to start the rockets and this engine in the same stage. And the reason why I'm going to do that is I'm going to hit X to throttle all the way down and then just tap the shift button to throttle up the smallest amount possible. Then turn on the rocket control and the SAS. Double check to make sure we've gotten every bit of science we can. And see, still some science to get from that pressure data. Nothing from the temperature. Doubt anything from the mystery goo. or a crew report. As I zoom out, you have to learn to zoom out. I use a mouse wheel. If you were playing with just a regular mouse with no mouse wheel, a really old simple mouse, that would be pretty difficult in this game. There's a lot of buttons and a lot of controls, and just zooming in and zooming out with the mouse wheel helps a lot. So off we go. You're gonna notice that we're gonna go pretty fast with these 4 rockets. Probably a lot faster when we've done. Let's not forget to do our science things. You can see for the first time we are getting airwaves because we are running into air resistance. It's nothing we should worry about too much as long as it's just that. Now I need to throttle up at this point and pull back so that that I'm still going upward, pretty much straight upward. We're using the last bit of our fuel to maintain upward momentum. Observe that mystery goo, still not anything. Observe the materials, crew report. We're about to hit 15,000. That might help. We're still over Kerbal shores, and with that we are at the end of our fuel. We still have vertical momentum, so we're still going to go up. We might get to 20,000. Yeah, upper atmosphere. We've made it. We need to quickly observe mystery goo and everything else. We need to get in here to the pressure data, log the pressure data, can't do it. We need the temperature, we're falling. Save. As quickly as possible. Observe the mystery goo. Now we're back down into the lower atmosphere. But we did make halfway progress. So might as well release our parachute. There is possibility that this is going to be a pretty difficult landing. This is heavy with all these rockets still stuck here. We couldn't get rid of them. Let's see. Crew report. Now, you will want to eventually do an EVA report in the upper atmosphere. How you're going to do that is kind of difficult because you have to be in the upper atmosphere, which means you have to be moving with a lot of drag. Pretty tough thing to do and not have your Kerbal just fly off. Now I'm hoping I will land right here inside this square. That would be a whole new area that we could do sciences on, but we're not going to, sadly. Now I'm just hoping we don't crash and explode too much. Well, we did crash and explode, but I don't think too much. Observe the mystery goo. Let's see. Crew report. Nope. And then can I roll over? No. And I think I would lose Valentina if I tried to do an EVA. Yep. She's gone too. Both our pilots now dead. Recover the vessel. They do come back, however, so we don't have to worry too much about that. 56 science is nothing to shake a stick at. 56 science is nothing. That is definitely something you want. So, missing in action and then killed in action. Jebediah Kerman. Maybe he doesn't come back. maybe we are gonna be burning through these guys. We're gonna definitely have to go through one of our regular guys in the future. It behooves us to hire some more guys. Then, if if we really don't get Jebediah and Valentina back, the list of the dead is higher than I thought. And actually didn't have this problem so much in the career mode because I was very careful to reload the game if something like that happened. Let's see, so that was 4. The maximum we can do is 8. So that's 8 of those ready to fire. Will 8 rockets be enough to get us all the way up? There is a certain point where adding more rockets actually makes it heavier and doesn't really help anything. Notice this wobbliness going on. You'll get this when things start overlapping, and it will get worse and worse and worse. And then you just want to revert to flight, to the launch, and then notice you have the same thing going, but it took it a little bit longer, reverted to launch. You might need to just straight up launch as soon as you go. And that fixes it. Maybe it doesn't fix it. Maybe it does break a couple of them off. So, when you have something that's just not working, like this, we're flying as Bill, which, if it's just not working, if you're just out of control, and there's nothing stopping you, nothing's going to save you, it's usually a good time to then try and just revert back to construction. In this case, we were able to land this in the grasslands, and I do believe there's some stuff we could get here, so we might as well take the opportunity to count this flight. Every failure there's something to learn from, particularly when you land in a new biome. Save that, save that, save that. And these overlap, which is in the same place, which is kind of helpful. Log that pressure data, do that crew report, do that EVA, hatch obstructed, can't exit. How come all those other times it didn't say that? So I can't do an EVA, I can't do a surface sample, but I did still manage to do quite a decent amount of science just by crashing and going the wrong direction. 20 more science earned, and our guy is ready for the next thing. At this point, I have enough to get a better fuel tank and the Terrier liquid fuel engine, but we wouldn't have enough to get the next thing, so I'm not sure I want to spend that science yet. We're still not anywhere close at 160. Well, we're halfway through actually to the mobile processing lab. So back to this, when you click on the building, it should, as long as you recover the vehicle, give you the same thing. These are just too closely to each other, so 8 won't work. Let's try 6. pilot now? Who knows? Could be any of them. Bill is piloting today. Let's see, X that. Are we still getting any signs from this? Nope. So that's the only one I think we needed to worry about. I think we got everything from the pressure and the temperature. So as we fly up, we want to double check that we've got all of the signs we can. But in the lower atmosphere, usually they break it to the point where, let's see, let's keep our thrust up this way. As long as we can. So we're about halfway through of our fuel. Notice we're not really benefiting much from the heavier construction here. We can try crew report, still flying over the Kerbal shores. We can try the temperature report until we get over 20 kilometers, I think is the limit. And we're not getting over 20 kilometers, which, remember, we did, when we had less, actually get that high. And now we're not getting that high. That's not just randomness, that's because we are heavier. So we will try and land. If we're really lucky, maybe we will land on the Kerbal shores. I don't think we've landed on the Kerbal shores. Maybe we'll land in the ocean. I think either one of those would be a right enough place to land. We will hit this piece first and break that off. We will then probably hit all these and break them off, and potentially break off all the fuel tanks. Ideally, we want to keep all the science things. And when the parachute fully inflates, it will sometimes jerk the ship in such a way that it might just rip off this part from this part, and thus only this part survives. So, are we going to be in the shores or the ocean? It kind of feels like we might be in the shores. That really goes to show how landing on the ground is often safer in this. A lot safer than landing on in the water. You'd think the water would be safer. So let's get rid of one fuel. And you're thinking to yourself, how is having less fuel going to help anything? That is what is the most amazing part of rocket science and Kerbal space program, is that actually having less fuel makes you so much lighter that it pays for itself. we have lots and lots of vertical momentum. We want to keep that vertical momentum as high as possible. It is possible that you could get enough vertical momentum to shoot yourself all the way out of the atmosphere, and from that point, let's see. Nope, that's not what I meant to do. So now the parachute's gonna get destroyed. Actually, I may be so heavy, I may not even be able to counterbalance it. Oh, this will be a good experiment in just landing. If you were going to do an EVA, you would want to fire up a ship, your engine, to get your speed, your ground speed, your surface speed here, as low as possible. Do an EVA as quickly as possible and then get back in. Well, that's the last of my fuel. And we only have parachute to stop us now. Let's speed this up. Now, speeding up in warp will at times kill you. Just completely murder you. Because when you speed it up, it stops doing specific checks for the physics. It fakes the number calculations in such a fashion that you're not actually things you might have actually survived, all of a sudden you don't survive. So we crash here again. We are in the Kerbal shores, and it's the same thing as the grasslands. Every little bit of science we can get, we might as well get. Let's see. Log that pressure data, find the thermometer, and log the temperature. Let's see. Crew report, and another mystery goo on the back side. Alright, see if we can get an EVA out. Nope, hatch is obstructed. Not a very good design we have here. The way this is pointing upward, the way this is always in the wrong place. But that is a big chunk of science, so it's pretty good. Pretty good chunk of science for another failed flight. Which is exactly what it is. Just another failed flight that we were able to salvage 20 science from. And now we're at 100. So just in failing, we may very well get up to the next level of science. In the career mode, it's worth mentioning, there is actually a specific contract to get funds that is worth doing over and over again. And the reason why it's worth doing over and over again is because you put a satellite up in a low orbit, a simple orbit around the planet, and then you just have to do one of these science experiments, regardless of how much the science data it actually collects. So it could be the same experiment over and over and over again, and I'd kind of recommend it would be that. And then you get a good chunk of funds that I saw people on the internet say allowed them to be just have way too much funds in Kerbal space. I did not have that experience. I did in no way have that experience where you couldn't get enough funds. And I did try to grind out that contract. You can cancel contracts at cancel, and from those canceling, eventually I would find the one that I wanted and turn it around. Alright. So I'm gonna try at full thrust. When this gets down to 10, I'm gonna start this burning up. Not working well at all. Another failed flight. Let's see where it lands us. I thought maybe getting rid of one science thing would help. It usually doesn't. Maybe we'll land on the runway, but I don't need to land on the runway. Too fast, too fast. That's what I'm talking about when you start accelerating time. That landed a bit more safely than it normally does. Log that temperature data at Kerbal Space Center. Log that pressure data. All things we haven't done before. Still got some mystery goo we can even get. Observe that materials bay. Doing these same experiments over and over again. That's all what science is about. Science is all about being boring and reproducing the same results. Because if one person does an experiment once and says this is the results, well, maybe some factor they hadn't accounted for modified it. Modified the results. So you never know. You gotta repeat, repeat, repeat. EVA report while flying over the Corbin shores. Nothing for that. But we'll come over here and take a surface sample and then do an EVA report. There. And there. Again, another failed flight, but not a problem. Particularly in science mode, when you're not wasting money, these failed flights are not frustrating to me. At least so far they haven't been frustrating to me. But in career mode, when every single part you use costs you thousands of dollars of funds, it's a nightmare. It really is. So we've done this flight several times. We've tried. It hasn't worked. There is an argument that can be made to not do it like this. Put the thrust directly below you, like this instead. Except for rotate that so it's actually facing the right direction. So that's just one of those, guys. Let's see. All the order is out of order. Let's fire. So we've been trying 6 rockets. 6 thumper rockets to get this little plane up into just the upper atmosphere even. And we really haven't succeeded there. Let's just try one. It's more slow going, definitely. It's not that big initial burst of force that I'm used to. We're about to run out of solid fuel. When it does, we get rid of it, and now we're super lighter. And when you have velocity and your mass changes, well, then you can go further. I believe that's true. Don't trust me, I'm not a scientist. The point, as far as I've understood it and figured it, is that you can just sit here and it looks like you're not even moving, but you are slowly moving upward. Now is time to, when you see it go down, now is the time to fire it. And you want to just slightly increase your speed. So a big burn at the beginning, and then turn it off and just tap the shift key. If you can see your vertical velocity is falling or your speed is slowing down, you want to speed up a little bit, but you want to use the least amount of fuel right now. You want to wait until you get out of the thick part of the atmosphere, because you are experiencing, whether you know it or not, a considerable amount of atmosphere drag. There's definitely a considerable amount of it going on, and as you get out of the atmosphere, your fuel efficiency goes up quite a lot. Let's see. We are almost up to the 20,000 meters, and it's almost like an arbitrary level that they define the atmosphere levels, which is true because we as scientists just artificially and arbitrarily define all of that. Upper atmosphere, just the tiniest amount of science I'm getting from the upper atmosphere. Log that temperature. Crew report. So we didn't get a lot of stuff from there, but that's alright. Now we can finally go into orbit mode. We are seeing that we are going to hit a specific height. We need this specific height, peak, called the apoaxis, to be 70,000 meters. And that's what we're really working on right now, is can we get, with the tiny amount of fuel we have left, the apoaxis at that height. We almost started falling there. We want to continue burning upward. And that's the last bit of our fuel. Now notice we are a lot higher than where we've ever been before. We are going to be almost at 30,000, so we've hit about halfway in our height. So observe the mystery goo. We might as well observe the mystery goo since we can't get any higher. If we want to recycle it and use it somewhere else, we can do that later. Well, you could do an EVA right about now. It would be very dangerous. Let's see. We are falling at 200 meters per second. It would be incredibly silly to do that. I wouldn't survive it. Absolutely not. We can deploy our parachute now, but it won't even deploy at this height. It has built-in heights with minimum pressure and minimum height, so about 17,000 meters is about the max as high as it will deploy. We're definitely going to land in the water this time. There's no question about that one. The question is, for this next 10,000 meters, can this parachute alone slow down this ship, which is lighter because it has no fuel, but it still has a pretty heavy engine and the fuel tanks and the research and stuff and everything else. Looks like we might land on a coral reef or something. Not that that would get us any science or anything. Slow us down is the question. Will it slow us down? Parachute still hasn't fully deployed. We're still 1,000 meters above. Now it's going to fully deploy. And we're going to die. You can't even see the water level. It's hard to see. Yep. So, another failed flight. And remember, because we failed that flight, we're not going to get any of that research. How can we fix this? Let's try to put some more rockets on. Take this off. Put one of these on. And then put one of these on. Here. One of these on here. Boy, this thing does not want to cooperate. Boy, does it not want to cooperate. There. There. Then take this part. And again, stick. Let's just do two. Let's try that. Two rockets. This middle rocket, which will fire later. And then our control. So we're going into what is more accurate would be a standard or more realistic multi-stage flight. Well, that's not gonna work. I moved the wrong one. So the one in the middle and the one in the right were the ones that activated when it needed to be the one in the middle over here. And then both of these. Alright, try that again. It does highlight the piece that you're hovering over in the staging, but you have to pay attention to what you're doing still. So we're going to look for one burn here. Be throttled up as much as possible. One burn at this point, and then less than half as long on the second burn. We just want to try and keep ourselves pointed upward. If anything, maybe tilt a little to the east. You do want to follow this. There's a line somewhere around here that is the east, right here, this line. This red one version is the north, so you want to go to the east because the planet rotates from east to west, and that means going towards the east will help you get into orbit with using less fuel. Get rid of that, save a little bit of fuel, and again, we just are waiting until our vertical thrust here goes down, and then we want it to go up, and then we want to start throttling back. We want to use the least amount of fuel. Every time we see this number are starting to grow, we back down again with the control key. All I'm really doing is looking at this. Almost to the upper atmosphere. That's when we need to start doing these experiments again, because we didn't save any of them. Let's see. Log that temperature. Nothing there. Observe the materials bay. Keep it, even though it's so small. Oh, and there we've hit our bust. We have hit our bust there. It probably would behoove us just to slow ourselves down if we could with a parachute right now. There's nothing more we can do. Crew report has been gotten and the pressure data has been gotten. So unless we were going to try to do an EVA, which is silly, release the parachute and try not to crash into the ocean. And what is going to make us crash into the ocean? Just the ocean, really. Our speed. Not having enough parachutes. I guess I should put some more. Even for such a small small ship like this is. This is a small ship. Unquestionably. It still probably needs some more parachutes. Let's speed this up. So we've had a pretty good start on replaying Kerbal Space Center in science mode. We've gotten a lot more science already than what we would have gotten to at this point in career mode. We haven't had to worry about funds. We haven't had to worry about reputation. But we are starting to get to the same problem. We need more parts. We need better parts. We need things that we don't have access to. Things that in sandbox mode we'd absolutely have access to. So we could sit here, we could try to adjust this little bug in the loading here, or we can just get some better rockets. Well, see, better fuel tank would be 45, and then we want a better solid rocket too, which is the kickback. So this cost how much? Let's just get it. This and then this. We're 6 off. We are 6 off. Oh, that is rotten. We want that kickback, which is the biggest solid rockets you can have. So since we don't have the kickback, and we want that, we will put another thumper here, and I feel like I need 3 of these. Let's see. See if this works. Put some more force behind it. Oh, and you know what? Before we get into it, you can hit escape and revert whenever you feel like it. Before we get in there, we've had some crashes. And I've almost started again without thinking about this. Let's put some more parachutes on here. 3 more parachutes, not a problem. Let's see. 3 more parachutes. Radio parachutes you put on the side of your ship, usually near the bottom. That way, if there is a jerking motion, it will keep everything jerked at the same time. Still can snap your ship in half in the midpoint if you put them at the bottom, but usually your ship isn't long enough for that to happen. There we go. 3 of these guys ready to go. They're starting to feel like they might be spinning more of their force, pulling themselves up. Also, if you're going too fast, you get the whole oxygen and drag force, which will eventually burn up and explode your rockets. Come on. This is exactly what you don't want, though. You don't want your ship just rotating all the way up. I'm about to start falling, and I've got to get this thing pointed straight up, or I'm going to... It's just going to be a nightmare. Let's see, and fire. And at 6,000 meters, we start going back up. So all of our force that was pushing us up from these 3 only got us 6,000 meters up, and it's not till this one it only got us another 2,000 meters up. And now we've got to really pull ourselves up, really pull ourselves up to try, and we can't do it. All we can do is horizontal forwards, and that's not really gonna help us do anything we want to do. We're flying towards this island for no reason. We're not going to make it. This is max thrust, and these are just too heavy. We're flying downward. That was a waste. So now, however, we can. We never got to upper atmosphere, which means we still haven't gotten those science experiments. But we've got 3 of the radio orange chutes here, and 1 of the regular chutes. And the radial chutes expand, I believe, earlier than this. We'll see in a second. And they're creating more drag, which is slowing us down. We're traveling at 56 meters per second. And this one actually gives us a chance that we might actually land in the ocean and not explode. But it's pretty typical, you land in the ocean and you explode. About 1,000 meters, maybe 700 meters, we're gonna inflate one of these. Really? 500 meters? There you go. Oh, they both do kind of inflate at the same time. But notice we are now down to a crawl speed of 7 meters per second to go down the 300 meters. So it would, at 7 meters per second, that's 300 is going to take a good while. Speed that up a little bit. There we go. 80 meters per second, that should take us about 10 seconds to land. That is a lot softer of a landing than we've seen. We landed. Let's log that pressure data. Let's log that temperature data. Nope, nothing there. Observe the mystery goo. Nothing there. Open that material bay. Still some science there. And zoom out a little bit so we can see what we're doing. And do a crew report. Nothing there. Do an EVA. We can do an EVA again. Flying over Kerbal with water. That's nice. Store the experiments and then let's let go. Can we take a surface sample from this height? Yes, we can. And can we do an EVA report from the Kerbal water? Yes, we can. And that is great news because that means we should now have enough science to upgrade our ship. Again. 11 science from that. And let's see, I don't believe we actually recovered the vessel yet. So when we recover that, we will get another 12 science. So 23 science by just safely landing in the ocean instead of exploding. And 23 science is enough to stick us over the limit and have these better rockets. Twin base liquid fuel engine and the mains for 160 is the next rocket part that we really need. Maybe some better fuel tanks would help, but not really. It's kinda also feels like maybe we should build some airplanes and fly. Take some time out and fly. But we'll have to see. We will have to see. So take this guy off. And we have 3 fuel tanks now, a small, medium, and a large. We have the skipper engine that is what they call the Rockomax brand, which means they are bigger. It's better to have big, wide tanks than it is to have skinny, tall ones. Unfortunately, I don't have any tanks that are Rockomax brands, so the skipper here would burn through all my fuel very fast. It uses more fuel, but it's better. You also have the Poodle, which is the more energy efficient things. And here is the kickback, the strongest of the rockets. And so let's see if we can hit Control Z and undo the part there. I can leave those parts stuck and just attach the kickbacks. And 3. So as we saw, you kind of made it to the point where you can control this vessel and get it into orbit just using 3 of the thumpers. We probably can get it into orbit with the 3 kickbacks. And let's see, there's the Reliant and the Swivel. And I think I'll make sure I have the Swivel, which has more ability to control us and keep us in check. Now notice it's giving me trouble because I'm in triple mode and it can't figure out what I'm telling it to do, so I have to go back to single mode. And let's launch this flight one more time. One last time for this episode. We're gonna RCS and all of that. Have our engines. I think I want it off. let's fire. So what you'll notice with the kickback is that very quickly we're going to be going a lot faster than we probably should be going for as light as this ship is. Very quickly we're going to start seeing air resistance happening. You want to really just keep it at about 200 meters per second at most. This one I think is going to go a lot higher than that. You can watch your vertical G-force here on this meter, and when it gets into the red, technically you've killed this guy. And you can see it's creeping up. It's creeping up. We're going far too fast. Why you would use this many rockets for such a light ship doesn't make sense. We're getting stress on all of the pieces as we are there. But look at our altitude. That's the important part. What is our height? And we're at 50,000 meters. Just that simply. Having the right thing is all it took. We're at 70,000. We're out of the atmosphere. We are totally out of the atmosphere. And we now need to just look at how high we're going to get. 200,000. So that gives us a lot of time to do science now. That we are outside of the atmosphere. We have never been outside of the atmosphere before. Let's see, observe the material bay and activate the goo. Observe the goo. Okay, so what you have a problem now is you can log pressure data in space near it, but when you get into regular space you can't. Observe this. Another crew report over this. Observe this. Alright, so that's all the science we can do. We're flying with Bill the engineer. We would at this point be probably trying to land somewhere. And so I think that's what I need to do. Is we're gonna try to see if maybe we can go north. If we can go north enough, we could end up in the North Pole. But north is about our only option. If we went the other direction, west, we probably wouldn't be able to make it, and we would just crash into the planet. If we went east, we would be working our way towards a stable orbit, which is not something we're ready to do. We don't need to be in orbit forever in this thing. If I was going to put a satellite up, I wouldn't have an astronaut flying, and I would definitely have decided to this. Alright, so the pink triangle here is about, I think it's what the angle you would fire at if you were trying to rotate your orbit. And that's basically what we're trying to do. Trying to rotate this so that we are flying towards the horizon with the last of our fuel, which we can see. Trying to get to the North Pole if we could, but we're not going to make it that much. We're out of fuel. You still need a lot of fuel when you get at this point. That definitely got us to the to a very high apple axis. 200,000 meters. We're gonna end up landing, I believe, in the mountain range, which will probably be helpful. Notice that the line behind you changes too. So in theory, if this planet wasn't here and you couldn't crash into it, if Kerbal wasn't here, you would make a full loop and come back to this point. But since there is a planet here, that orbit's going to decay as you hit the atmosphere. It's going to, uh, and you're going to actually hit the ground. We are now past the apoaxis. If you have a stable orbit, you will have a per-axis, and we will get to a stable orbit eventually. It's the mission to put a satellite into orbit doesn't really help you in science mode. It really doesn't. It's better to do more flights like this and have a guy come back. So eventually, if you get high enough, it will start playing this music. But the music in this game is really, really messed up. In the sense it just cuts on and it cuts off. Oh, we are here though. Let's do an EVA. It's relatively safe to do an EVA report while we're in the outside of the atmosphere. You can definitely have trouble. You can definitely oh, we're falling very fastly. I should have taken all the science out. Oh, this is not good. I should have taken that opportunity instead of talking to do an EVA and take all the science out of this. I think I still have time. So what we want to do, no, we don't have time. We don't have time. We're falling too fast. Falling too fast. We're gonna hit 70,000 faster than I think. What you normally would want to do is get out there and collect all that data. Otherwise we're gonna lose it all if it explodes, and we may lose the whole thing. So now is a good time to quick save. You can't see it because of the white, but it just said quick save here. Now you can see it right there. And this will be the first of all the flights you've seen today. I think this will probably be one of the few ones that is really going to have impact and be saved and not reverted. We're coming down fast. Gravity pulls you down, makes you go faster until you hit a terminal velocity, which right now that's not very good. It's showing us our orbit speed right now, which is different than our land speed. Let's see. What we'd like to do is point our ship the opposite direction that we're falling. Retrograde, which is the circle here with the lines through it. Reason we want to do that is so all the fire and friction hits the parts of the ship that don't matter, these rockets and such. 30,000 meters. We're not even through the fire, and I released the parachutes. I shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake. The parachutes are gonna break. I believe the parachute just broke. Yep. Both of the parachutes are red. They're broken. They tried to release themselves too early, and you should have probably done it at about 2,000. So instead of reverting back to launch, we're gonna hold down the quick load and go back to where we saved. And try that again. This time we won't be releasing the parachutes. at a super high height. We will instead be just bearing through it, trying to use the atmosphere and the friction to our best benefit. Speed this up a little bit. Try and move myself retrograde as possible. We're hitting 70,000, that's when we're back in the atmosphere. So any second now we'll start burning up. $50,000 meters, 40,000 meters. There we go. 30,000. We start burning up at 30,000. When we hit the thick part of the atmosphere, kind of just want to wait till the fire is gone. We're at 10,000. We gotta hit the parachutes now. We're at 5,000. Wow. Wow. That was close. Super, super close. See if we can get a crew report here while flying up. Nope. That's fine. And where are we? We landed. We saved all that. EVA report from flying over the grasslands. Let's board that again. Let's see. Let's review the data here. Now I want to keep that. Review the data. I'm gonna recycle this one. And then observe the mystery goo. Oh no, that was a mistake. It probably doesn't matter. I have 3 others. Log the pressure data. Nope. Log the temperature data. Nope. Get out and do some surface samples. And an EVA report. And then we'll be done. Take a surface sample of the grasslands and do an EVA report of the grasslands. And grab and board and recover the vessel. There we have it. Our first orbital flight, maybe suborbital, might be. What is this? Let's see. We get some science here for the recovery of a ship after a suborbital flight. So that gives us a few bits. But we got 95 science from that. That's a big jump. We never had that jump in career mode. We never had that jump. With 95, we're back in business. We only need 50 more to get this, but we really should get these 2 in a row. Let's see. One of the things we might help with is if we could get our radial decoupler here. It's only 18, but it helps a lot in construction. And we could get some bigger fuel tanks. We could work our way towards the better engines. And that's really where we may have to work towards, is just getting more and more engines. We need 70 more science. Of course, we could also build the rover. Now, since we already have this, we might as well just unlock this and get the wheels, and maybe even unlock this one and get the... No, I can't unlock this one. I need this one unlocked. So that's still going to be a bit of a problem. You have to work your way through it to unlock things. So this needs both of these. But we've got some wheels, so maybe next time we'll try and build a rover and get some more science that way. We now have in space low as a category of science, and you can see we got pretty... When we sort by science, we have 5, 8, 8, 12, 12, 25. It's a big amount. It's a big amount where you don't really get as much from flying low, or let's see, was this SRF splash down if you're in the water? They separate that out. Interesting. And then landed. And then for Kerbal, we can look at the different biomes in particular. Now when you click on other planets, I don't think we've gotten any science from them, so we don't even... It's not even telling you if they have biomes, which is interesting. So you have to really learn it, or otherwise you're going to be in trouble. Let's go into the astronaut thing first, though. They don't seem like they're coming back. Poor Jebediah, poor Valentina. I did not mean to do that to you. I never for a second thought that you weren't going to be able to have your guys back. In every previous version, it's taken a while, but they have come back. The orange ones as just a default, you always have the guys you need. Right now, I don't really have the guys I need, although I could certainly take one of these guys. And who knows what the courage and stupidity meters do, if they do anything. They probably only affect how much experience you would get. Imagine if you have really high courage and low stupidity, you're going to get experience. But that's all in career mode. Also in career mode, mentioned here, is the next hire would cost 422,000 funds, which is a massive amount of funds, because I've been hiring all these people. So it gets more and more expensive every time you hire somebody. But I don't have to deal with that because I'm playing in science mode, and it's going incredibly better than it did in career mode. Here is a crater that is quite unique. Assumedly, this is what killed all the Kerbinsaurs that were originally on the planet. No, I'm making that all up. As far as I know, there's no evidence or backstory that there were ever dinosaurs on the planet Kerbal. Anyways, that's the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. We've made some progress, and we'll make more next time. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps out. If you want to support me, which would be greatly appreciated, you can do that by clicking on my name, Rydo. On the right is a blue button that says support this channel. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media site, there's a bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.